Clerk, please call the roll.
Calling the roll for the Monday, November 6, 2023 Board of Control meeting. We have Councilmember Meredith Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Dale Miller.
Present.
Trevor Meckler serving as an alternate for Pernell Jones Jr.
Here.
Melanie Say serving as an alternate for Mike Dever. Here. Catherine Gallagher serving as an alternate for Chris Ronay, County Executive.
Here.
Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for Mike Chambers, Interim Fiscal Officer and as Chairperson.
Here.
Paul Porter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. If we can take a minute to review the minutes from October 30th, 2023.
I'll move approval.
Second. Now, any public comment?
Wait,
All
we
in
should
favor?
vote on
Oh,
the
I'm
minutes.
sorry. I did that last time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Any public comment?
No public comment?
Moving on to contract and awards.
First item, BC 2023-689, Department of Public Works submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to National Office Services Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $129,962.94 for state contract purchase of additional furniture in connection with the office build-out of various wings at the Jane Edna Hunter Building and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Thank you, Cheryl. Matt Reimer representing the Department of Public Works. So this item is a supporting procurement for the Workforce Improvement Initiative for Health and Human Services, specifically in the Social Worker and Child and Family Services Department. Council members may recall that there was a council contract approved some time ago, earlier this year, for workstations, cubicles to be purchased under a council-approved contract with National Office for the office areas in 1 East, 1 West, 2 East, and 2 West. These are 26 additional cubicles that weren't identified at the time of that contract. The mechanism is a state term purchase, just like the original council-approved contract to the same vendor. And this would go in the 2 East floor of Jane Edna Hunter. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question. I've heard numerous times that the HHS levy cannot be used for capital expenses. Is this not a capital expense?
So the originating contract was grant funded from the Health and Human Services. I'm going to get all the names wrong, but look for Melanie to correct me if I'm wrong. The Workforce Improvement Grant that HHS had, this amount was over and above the grant dollars that were available. It was my understanding that Health and Human Services funds were being used. And I'm sorry I missed the pre-meeting, Cheryl, but I did not know that this was levy, and I don't think that the codes that we have on the procurement reference levy funds. Melanie, I don't know if you have the backup. I have the backup in front of me. Or if there's someone else from the department. Hey, Dominique, HS 215100.
Some levy does go under, but.
So, children's PA,
30% comes from the state and the rest comes from.
so not levy.
It's, levy goes into that accounting unit, but it gets.
Okay. I don't know that I can repeat that. I'm sorry, Councilman.
Could you come forward and?
Thanks, Dominique. Okay.
So it's what, 34% Health and Human Service levy and 66 title IVD? Yeah, okay.
You can say it again. Good morning, Dominique, Fiscal Department. So that accounting unit is 34% from the state and 66% from the levy,
It's 34%
reimbursed by the state
and 66%.
levy.
So, are we able to use levy funds for capital expenses or not?
Matt, I can take this up. Historically, Councilman, I believe that we have been able to purchase furniture and things of that nature, but not, I guess I would say, true capital public works needs, such as like roofs and purchase of buildings, things of that nature is historically what we've stayed away from and calling that as capital dollars. But in the past, I believe we've used furniture, HHS levy for furniture purchases.
I would concur, Trevor, to the councilman. This is not a life-extending program to the building itself.
Is there any legal impediment that provides that the levy funds cannot be used for capital expense, or is this simply a matter of history and tradition?
That is my understanding based on past opinion from Office of Budget and Management, but maybe Jared can comment on that.
This is Jared Zabrowski from the Law Department. I think that's an excellent question, Councilman, and I haven't worked on that specifically, so if you would like, I would have to go back and get an answer on that. I know we've done some work on that, we being the office, but I don't want to sit here and say what the result of an opinion was that I didn't write or actually read. So I would love to go back and do that for you if that's something that you want, but I know
Yeah.
the last time we dealt with this, we were talking about capital expenses to be paid out to a different vendor, so that's a little further away from this. And these are basically FF&E rather than capital expenditures.
I think it would be well worth making the effort to find out exactly where the boundary line is and what the legal basis is for it. So yes, I would request that you do that research and let us know.
We'll go ahead and do it. It may have already be done. I just want to make sure that I know exactly what I'm talking about before I give you the full
Okay.
answer.
I don't feel any need to hold the item. I think this is more a matter of future guidance.
If I could, Councilman, I'd just reiterate, it is our practice not to use levy funds for capital improvements to buildings. So if that helps answer the question also.
Any additional questions? Not, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller.
Motion to approve as amended the funding source.
Thank you.
We should vote.
Motion to approve as amended. Is there a second? Councilman Miller?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-690, Department of Public Works recommending an award on RQ 13235 and submitting a purchase order with Charchone Ford of Alliance and the amount not to exceed $107,101 for one replacement new, never titled 2023 Ford F-550 service truck.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Pavich, Public Works. This is a purchase order with Sarchoni. It's a 2024 service truck, which is a body with high side compartments. It's for our sanitary division. It was a formal bid. We bid it out. We had two vendors. Valley Ford was $2,000 more, and this is the award to Sarchoni. That's replacing a older 2003 Chevy truck, which will go in gov deals.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
I would just move to amend the description to read 13-2 instead of 2-13. Technical correction.
Thank you. Any additional comments or questions? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve as amended or noted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-691, Department of Public Works submitting an amendment to a contract with Josh and Paper and Packaging Company Incorporated for janitorial, chemical, and paper supplies for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $450,000.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, again, Public Works. This is an amendment to our current contract with Josh and for our JanSan. Our JanSan includes janitorial paper products like paper towels, hand towels, toilet paper. The chemicals part is chemical cleaning supplies, degreasers, floor scrubbings, etc. The current contract was awarded through an RFP process. Josh was the low bidder. We're looking to extend it one additional year. Our strategy for next year is to combine all of our janitorial contracts, including this one, into one master contract for janitorial supplies. So we're extending all open contracts and purchase orders to have the same end date of next year, and then we'll go out for a new RFP next year.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Turner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2023-692, Fiscal Office submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Environments for Business LLC in the amount not to exceed $6,454.52 for the purchase and installation of 18 chairs, 9 each for various auto title divisions, items 1 and 2 as listed on the printed agenda, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Dominique Salem, Fiscal Department. This purchase order is for 18 chairs, 9 at each of the 2 auto title locations, Parma and Golden Gate. It's done as RFP exemption because the vendor was able to give us a price cheaper than the state contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Say. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-693, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Logicalis Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $62,991 for a joint cooperative purchase of additional NetApp storage hardware and software, including maintenance and support, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Board. Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT, has read into the record this joint co-op is via Logicalis for their pricing, which is actually GSA pricing. The NetApp is a hardware IT standard, and this is going to be for the hardware replacement of firewall systems presently in place, and it's also going to be for the software and the maintenance and support.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-694, Department of Information Technology, on behalf of the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of the Director, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Integrated Precision Systems Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $108,025 for a state contract purchase of 9 additional video surveillance cameras, miscellaneous equipment, system upgrades, installation, and programming services at the Jane Edna Hunter Building, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Again, Board, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. IPS is an IT standard for the surveillance and security systems throughout the county, and this purchase is off of state term, and it's in addition to what is already installed at Jane Edna Hunter.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Porter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-695, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to SHI International Corporation in the amount not to exceed $14,106.52 for a joint cooperative purchase of 1 Patch My PC Enterprise Plus software subscription renewal for the period December 16, 2023 through December 15, 2024, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Again, Board, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. This is again a purchase of a joint co-op pricing from via SHI. This is a renewal subscription for 1-year period, and this Patch My PC software is used by the Department of IT. It simplifies the ways the department creates, manages, and updates and deploys third-party applications within the Microsoft Configuration Manager module.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Turner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-696, Department of Information Technology submitting an amendment to a contract with OneSpar Q LLC for staff augmentation services and Infor Global Human Resource Consultant for the Enterprise Resource Planning System for the period December 5th, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, to expand the scope of services to add an additional Infor Global Human Resource Consultant and to change the terms effective upon contract signature of all parties, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $84,100.
Again, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. This amendment is for OneSpark for the employment of an additional consultant from the point of approval, if you approve today, to the end of the year. So there's 2 consultants from today with your approval going forward to the end of the year. And this will take care of the 2 months of the new one, if approved today, and invoices that we have for the present employee consultant. And then going forward next year in the pipeline, we already have a contract coming forward for IT purposes for one consultant.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yes, what are the nature of the services provided by these consultants, and why do we need consultants and can't do it in-house?
No, I'd be glad to answer that.
Good morning, Bob Knoll, IT. So the consultant that we're using is for the MyTime system, the workforce management system. So it's a very specific skill set. This is the application that we installed last year in April for, it supports the time entry and time maintenance for payroll. So currently we do not have an employee on staff. We did hire an employee that unfortunately is no longer with us. So at some point we hope to bring this in-house, but right now we don't have the skill set to do this. We're also planning an upgrade with this system as well, so having this resource will be helpful for us to have the upgrade go through.
And do we expect to need to have one person throughout 2024? Is that the plan?
I believe the contract will be written that the resource will be available through the entire year of 2024 with an option for us to extend, an option for us to end the contract early if need be.
And would there be any possibility that this would be needed beyond 2024, or do we think that that sometime during the next year we will complete the need for this contract?
That's our plan, is to not use this resource hopefully throughout the entire year of 2024 and not after them.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
And again, for the record, the reason for not using the competitive bid process?
An amendment with the established contract that we have with One Spark. As Bob had made mention for the skill set and the talent that they were looking for, and for the 2-month period, the amendment seems simple.
Okay, thank you.
And the contract coming forward for 2024 will most likely be with One Spark also to maintain that consultant that's already been working the whole 2023 year.
So, to follow up on my colleague's question, how was One Spark originally procured? Was it a competitive process or was it an exemption?
I believe it was an exemption, but I'm not sure. We can research and get back to the committee.
Paul,
Okay.
do you recall?
Let me look in the backup real quick, because I thought it was an exemption as well, because we've worked with them prior to this contract, if I recall correctly.
We have, yeah, we've used them for quite a while now, for at least a little bit, correct?
Because this is a second amendment.
I know, Paul, I don't know if it helps your memory or not, but I remember that the pricing we received was anywhere in the area between $50 to $100 less per hour for the skill
Okay.
sets.
Yeah, it's not listed in here. The original solicitation isn't listed in here, so we can either follow up on it
Yeah.
or if we have to hold it.
From my perspective, you don't need to hold it. I would just like the information on the history as to whether it was originally competitively procured and why or why not.
I will get that information to Cheryl this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Next item?
Next item, BC 2023-697, Department of Human Resources submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Clemens, Nelson and Associates Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $20,000 for human resources consulting services effective upon contract signatures of all parties for a period of 1 year, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Stephen Witt with Human Resources. This is a new contract for a new service that we have not had in a long time, as far as I can recall, if at all. What this will provide is it'll provide a resource for our human resources staff to make direct calls to Clemens Nelson, the consultant, who is an HR expert, to get quick answers on questions for what is considered routine questions. The vendor, Clemens Nelson, defines routine questions as questions that can be answered on that phone call with no additional follow-up or no in-person meetings. What this will do is it will help alleviate some of the issues where HR staff will have a question, but needs to consult with another HR staff member who is unavailable to contact quickly to get a quick response so that we can work quicker with our partners.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes, can you give an example of a kind of question that we wouldn't know the answer to, but that this Clemens Nelson outfit could provide us the answer to without having to do any research or getting back to us?
So I have a list of sample questions from Clemens Nelson, but regarding that, I don't know whether or not they are these would be good examples of questions that we may have, because they are Clemens Nelson does more than just public sector. So some of these questions are questions that we already know the answers to, but they were provided as examples of what is a routine question.
Hi, Sarah Nemistel, Director of the Department of Human Resources. I see it as a resource for us to call where we're kind of in the middle of something and maybe I'm not available or another director isn't available, but for the managers to be able to call, I think just to sort of talk through maybe what they're gonna do with something and make sure they're not missing anything, but also if something comes up that would require a lot of research, at least getting in the right direction. Like one example I could think of is like maybe if one of the collective bargaining units is going to do a picket or something, or something like that. Do they have any general information they can give us on what employees are able to do on or off county time as a starting point? But of course, we'd still have to collaborate with the law department for further research, but basically just as a resource for quick on-the-spot advice.
So, I have questions as to how valuable this is going to be, but for $20,000, I'm willing to let you give it a shot, but would like to have it on a little bit of a short leash and do an evaluation at some point 3 to 6 months down the road and figure out whether this is worth the money.
Sure, I can definitely commit to that.
And one other question is this a set amount, or is it like, do you pay per phone call based on how much it's actually used? How does this work?
So this is a month-to-month retainer of $975. And in addition, we added additional funds to provide about 40 hours of additional work in case one of those routine phone calls is met with, well, would you like us to draft a letter for you or something along those lines, just so that we have the funds in case something like that occurs.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-698, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, recommending an award and submitting an agreement with City of Lyndhurst in the amount not to exceed $2,700 for community diversion program services for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Good morning, Tara Brown. This is the first of 30-plus community diversion contracts with the City of Lyndhurst, and it's for 1 year, starting in January.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Turner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-699, County Prosecutor submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to M&J Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $15,482.63 for state contract purchase for the renewal of 477 VMware Carbon Black Cloud software subscription licenses and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Josh Brower with the County Prosecutor's Office. The item before you represents a renewal of 477 VMware Carbon Black licenses. VMware Carbon Black is a next-gen antivirus platform that enhances the cybersecurity threat detection and protection and mitigation capabilities of the CCPO.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-700, County Prosecutor submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in award recommendation to Othram Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $5,997 for forensic genetic genealogy, DNA analysis, and SNP testing of unidentified remains for unsolved homicide cases in connection with the FY20 Sexual Assault Kit Initiative for the period November 6, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Thank you. Mary Weston on behalf of the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office. I am seeking permission to use this amount, almost $6,000, of our 2020 Sexual Assault Kit Initiative Award funds in order to try to identify some bones that were discovered in 1983 in Willoughby Hills. Conversations and interviews with Samuel Little prior to his death suggested he may be the perpetrator of this homicide. We are still trying to identify who those bones belong to, which would be the first step in trying to solve this homicide. We consulted with the Department of Justice, the supervisor of forensics there, who indicated that Othram Labs in Texas has a unique niche expertise in identifying DNA through very old bones, and suggested we use Othram over the company we've normally been using, Gene by Gene. We'd like to use Othram for a few reasons, but number one, we don't want to have to test these bones twice. We have had experience of testing items for DNA and unfortunately using up all that DNA with no results. So we'd like to go to the lab that has this kind of niche expertise, and that is Othram.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yes. Is the suspected perpetrator in custody?
He is deceased. He was in custody, and he is now deceased.
Additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-701, Sheriff's Department submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in award recommendation to Integrated Precision Systems Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $5,496 for the purchase and installation of 4 replacement surveillance cameras in central booking located at the Justice Center, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department. We are requesting an award recommendation to IPS for the purchase of 4 cameras. These will replace the existing cameras located near central booking that were damaged by our inmates. These cameras will also be placed on our maintenance and support contract, which is held by IPS.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, how did that damage happen?
I will have to get back to you unless Chief Soltis, who's here, has any information. I'll have to get back to you as well.
Any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Turner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-702, Sheriff's Department recommending an award and submitting a purchase order to the Metro Health System in the amount not to exceed $435,000 for reimbursement of off-site medical services for inmates for the period November 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023.
Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department. We are requesting an award recommendation to Metro Health System for our off-site medical expenses that are held at Metro Health facilities. The current contract we have is for medical services within the jail. Outside medical service have been being paid through this contract. However, just recently, with discussion with the law, that outside medical services should have its own PO or contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
So, when does our regular jail service contract end?
I believe it's around May 8th, and we are currently working on an RFP to go out hopefully by the end of the year.
And is the new contract going to provide for both in-jail and off-site services so that we don't have to have two separate contracts like this?
I have Chief Soltis here to discuss the RFP itself, but I believe it's going to be included. However, if not, we do have a separate agreement out there that we include outside services for like UH or Cleveland Clinic or other services. But if Chief Soltis wants to expand, he can.
Dale Soltis, Jail Administrator, Mr. Miller. And in the process of doing the RFP, because some of the services may not be covered solely by Metro Health, there's going to be a separate part of that RFP, but we'll include that as part of that option of financing that.
Okay, so there's going to be one contract just for within the jail, and then there might be multiple contracts for providers for services off-site.
That's correct, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-703, Sheriff's Department submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to Keith Commissary Network LLC in the amount not to exceed $10,000 for the purchase of various commissary items to incentivize inmates to receive the COVID-19 vaccination for the period November 6, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department. Yes, we're requesting an award to Keith Commissary Network. We are planning to purchase about 200 incentive bags for any inmates that gets the COVID-19 shot.
Any questions on this item?
Yes. Is this incentive only for initial vaccinations, or could it be COVID-19 booster shots, or is it one or the other or both?
It could be either. I mean, it does extend out to the booster shots as well.
Okay.
Any additional questions?
Chris, does it include the flu shots too? I know when we were on a call with Metro, there was some talk about adding the flu shots to this incentive as well.
Yes, I spoke with Brianna Witt, who's very knowledgeable of this program, and she did advise that flu shots were included.
Do you know, I know we've been doing this the last couple of years. Do you think we'll get to the $10,000 in terms of the number of inmates that take advantage of it, or what kind of return are we getting?
I believe last time we purchased and hand out just under 200 incentive bags. This one's going to purchase 200 incentive bags. It's including items that has shelf life that won't go bad. So we're hoping we eat up this $10,000. We do have another $90,000 to spend, but I don't believe we'll spend it all. But we do plan on, working with Brianna to get the money back to where it belongs.
And what does the incentive bag consist of?
That I could not tell you. Maybe Chief Soltis could address this.
Within that bag, there are several food items as well as personal hygiene items that they can utilize. So it's a combination of things that, like, as Chris said, that their shelf life is extended. The health hygiene items don't expire. So basically a combination of food items as well as hygiene items.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And what's the approximate value per bag?
$50.
$50, okay.
We had some spikes, numbers going down.
Our number today was 6. It was 15 last, so it's fluctuating right now. Our goal is to drive that down with these incentive bags, and hopefully drive that number to 0.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Turner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2023-704, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to a Place for Me collaborative in the amount not to exceed $64,837 for independent living skills training for youth and young adult ages 14 through 21 for the period September 30th, 2023 through September 29, 2024, and submitting a contract as said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. Again, this is a new contract with a Place for Me collaborative for the Opportunity Passport Program. This is a financial capability program for youth 14 to 21 who are in or who have aged out of the foster care system.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-705, Medical Examiner's Office submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to Fisher Scientific Company LLC in the amount not to exceed $434,633.17 for a joint cooperative purchase of one TSQ Altus Plus mass spectrometer, various parts and accessories, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. We are utilizing some ARPA funds that we had from the state, as well as the remaining opioid settlement funds that we were assigned. This particular piece of equipment will help upgrade the toxicology laboratory. These mass spectrometers are more sensitive and are able to detect at a much lower molecular level, which a lot of the designer opioids that are coming out now will evade the traditional gas chromatography.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Councilwoman Turner.
Is this a matter of duration or how many times you will use this piece of equipment? So will we be looking to replace this in a certain number of years or?
So this is a new piece of equipment. We have several of them in the laboratory now. Their lifespans have fluctuated, but at least a decade. So we've been, over the years, slowly phasing out the gas chromatograph mass spectrometers and adding the items like this. These are called LCMS. Like I said, their detection levels are much lower because the molecules that are used in these new drugs are much smaller because they're artificial.
So this is mission critical?
We get a lot of use out of them, yeah, with the levels of overdoses that we're getting currently. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Turner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Moving on to consent agenda items.
Consent agenda items are BC 2023-706 through BC 2023-708. The following purchase orders under BC 2023-708 are being corrected to read: changing purchase order number 23004637 to 23004772, and changing the total on purchase order number 23004762 to $5,766.
Okay, if we can take a second to read over the consent agenda items. Are there any questions on the consent agenda items? If there are no questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Turner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Any other business?
Yes, we have other business. We have two time-sensitive mission-critical items. First item is BC 2023-709, Department of Public Works recommending an award and submitting a purchase order to Platinum Plumbing Incorporated, DBA Mayor Plumbing and Heating in the amount not to exceed $10,126.40 for emergency services to replace a main water line located at 1179 Bender Avenue in the city of East Cleveland, damaged by the Sanitary Engineering Division.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works. This is a mission critical. It was approved by Director Dever in Public Works. Our sanitary crews were doing some work and hit a water main. It was a water line and went to a resident's house and it burst. So we had to deploy a mission critical process. Our director approved it. We got a vendor out there to address the break. It was at one of the valve points. They made a temporary solution, so the resident did have water. Then eventually the vendor came back, dug the trench, and did an all-new copper line back to their house into the basement.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes. This is the first time I've heard one like this. On average, how often does it happen that we inadvertently damage a resident's system?
So ironically, we haven't had one in a couple of years. When I came to Public Works in 2016, we had several a year, but we did have a contract in place. I don't think we've had one in 3 years, so this prompted us to proactively get a new contract in place. It's going to be a small contract coming before you in the next few weeks, I think for $50,000 with a vendor that provides this type of service. So it doesn't happen too often. It's been really mitigated over the past few years, but we're being able to proactive as a not-to-exceed contract coming before you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-710, Department of Public Works recommending an award and submitting a contract with AAA, American Abatement and Asbestos Removal Corporation, in the amount not to exceed $18,348 for asbestos abatement services in connection with the renovation of the Metzenbaum Center located at 3343 Community College Avenue, Cleveland, for the period August 29, 2023 through August 28, 2024.
Thank you, Cheryl. Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. So this work happened in September of 2023 after a time-sensitive mission-critical determination was made when we found non-intact asbestos-containing floor tile and floor tile adhesive in the D&E wings of the Metzenbaum Center. So this represents the final invoice for American Abatement to abate and dispose properly of that work, and all EPA notifications performed as well. Let's see, we identified American Abatement as the vendor because they were already a subcontractor under us. They had performed the majority of the abatement activities over at the old juvenile court, that large capital project. So we had them on speed dial for a number of reasons. We did do a secondary effort to identify additional vendors consistent with the time-sensitive mission-critical process. Although we did get some questions of interest from other vendors, we received no other proposals.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes. Do we own the Metzenbaum Center?
Through the chair, Councilman, yes, we do.
And is it currently in operation?
Yes, the area that we abated is not in operation. Specifically, these are the D&E wings that are under consideration for possible improvement for HHS functions. Councilwoman Turner, we had the pleasure of hosting her, and she saw the post-abatement condition that the facility is currently in. So we had relocated juvenile court functions out of those two areas, but the rest of the building is in operation, yes.
And the sections that are in operation, what are they being used for?
Juvenile court operations, specifically day programs, probation programs, and other juvenile court administrative activities.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions?
Matt, just a question on the timeline. This goes through August of '24. Is that correct? Or because I thought this was a final invoice.
It does represent a final invoice. Because of the nature of the work, I'm going to look to law. I'm sorry. We had to put a contract in place versus a normal purchase order. So I believe that maybe was the result of the needing to develop a contract for the final invoice versus PO. But the work is complete, and there will not be future work.
And I get, why do we have to go out through 2024? That seems a little strange.
Do you recall? No. Okay. Jared, do you happen to know?
This is Jared Zabrotowski from the Law Department. I would imagine we just did that as a standard 1 year, just to provide the time. But in the future, for something like this, we can definitely shorten that span.
But we don't have, there's no additional, there's no available funds left for the remaining year.
That's correct. So we did get the final landfill invoice, so we have all costs. It would just be the administrative activities to close this out.
Thank you.
Is there a projected completion date?
Of the overall project, Councilwoman, is that what you're referring to? So that, we've had extensive coordination between us, Health and Human Services, Chairperson Conwell, hosted yourself, and I believe we're all under a good common understanding on the intent of the project, and it's coming back, I believe, to council for fiscal agenda approval action next week on the 14th, the funds for the project. So pending that and pending our kind of regrouping with our crews, I can get you a better answer on completion schedule, Councilwoman. Okay.
Okay, I would like to know as well.
Yes, Councilman.
Any additional questions, comments? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by who was that?
It
Councilman
was
Miller?
both of us.
Okay.
It was a tie. You can choose whoever you want.
Councilman Miller. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Any additional public comment?
No additional business, and there is no public comment.
I have one question. Am I correct that the next meeting is next Monday at 11 o'clock, that it's not affected by Veterans Day?
No, it is not affected by Veterans Day.
Okay, thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.